The notification sound cut through the humid Bangkok air at 3 a.m. I should have been sleeping, but jet lag had me wide awake in my hotel room. I grabbed my phone, expecting a message from my boyfriend back home. Instead, I saw 3 words that made my blood run cold. "We're cutting you loose." My name is, and I'm about to tell you how the worst moment of my professional life became the sweetest revenge I've ever tasted. But before I get there, I need you to understand something. When they abandoned me 8,000 miles from home with a canceled credit card and a sneer, they had no idea who they were dealing with. Where are you watching from right now? Drop your location and the time in the comments. I want to know how far this story travels. Let me take you back to the beginning. 3 years ago, I was recruited by Solutions, a mid-sized logistics consulting firm based in Seattle. The CEO, yes, he actually went by his full pretentious name, had personally headhunted me from our competitor. He'd wined and dined me, promised me the world, told me I was exactly the kind of innovative thinker they needed to disrupt the industry. I was their director of international operations, which sounds impressive until you realize it meant I did the work of 4 people while getting paid for one. But I didn't mind. I'm the daughter of immigrants who built a restaurant from nothing. Hard work is in my DNA. Plus, I genuinely believed in what we were doing, streamlining supply chains, helping smaller businesses compete globally. It felt meaningful. The Thailand project was supposed to be my crowning achievement. We landed a massive contract with a consortium of manufacturers who wanted to optimize their shipping routes throughout Southeast Asia. If we pulled it off, it would triple our annual revenue. And guess who sent to close the deal and implement the system? That's right. Solo, me. "You're the only one who can do this," he'd said, gripping my shoulder with those cold, manicured hands. "I trust you completely. This is your chance to prove your executive material." Executive material. Those words echoed in my head as I boarded that 16-hour flight. I'd spent 3 months preparing, learning basic Thai phrases, researching cultural business practices, building detailed presentations. My boyfriend, Leo, had been supportive but concerned. 3 weeks is a long time, he'd said at the airport, and they're really sending you alone, no backup. That's how much they trust me, I'd replied, kissing him goodbye. God, I was naive. The first 2 weeks in Bangkok were intense but exhilarating. I met with 7 different company representatives, navigated complex negotiations, ate street food that set my mouth on fire, and slowly, methodically, built the framework for a system that would revolutionize their operations. The clients loved me. I was killing it. Then came that text at 3 a.m. on day 15. "We're cutting you loose. Your company card is canceled. Figure out how to get home yourself, loser. Doctor." I stared at that message for a full minute, my brain refusing to process it. This had to be a joke, some kind of test. I called immediately, straight to voicemail. I called our CFO, voicemail. I called our HR director, Van Berg, you guessed it, voicemail. My hands were shaking as I tried to use the company card to book a flight home. DCLINED. I tried to get cash from an ATM. DCLINED. I checked my work email, access. My company's Slack account, removed from all channels. They'd cut me off completely. No warning, no explanation. And worse, they'd timed it for the middle of the night, knowing I'd be alone and vulnerable. I sat on that hotel bed as the reality crashed over me. I had $247 in my personal checking account. My flight home wasn't for another 6 days. My hotel was $180 a night. I was in a foreign country, completely isolated, and the people I'd trusted, the people I'd bled for, had abandoned me like I was garbage. But here's the thing about being the daughter of immigrants, about growing up watching your parents smile at customers who treated them like servants, about learning to be smart before you learn to be soft. You develop an instinct for survival. And somewhere deeper, somewhere they should have checked before they pushed me off that cliff, you develop a taste for justice. I didn't cry. I didn't panic. Instead, I opened my laptop and typed out a response. "Thank you for letting me know." 4 words, professional, calm, giving away nothing about the storm brewing in my chest. Then I got to work. If you're enjoying this story, hit that like button. I promise you, what comes next is going to blow your mind. C and his executive team had made several critical mistakes. First, they assumed I was just a worker bee who followed orders and didn't ask questions. Second, they'd given me 3 years of unrestricted access to our systems, including full administrator privileges for our international operations. And third, this was the big one. They'd sent me to Thailand to implement a system I had personally designed, built, and understood better than anyone else in the company. Over the next 16 hours, I barely moved from that hotel room. I survived on instant noodles from a 7-Eleven and iced coffee that tasted like cardboard. And I systematically created what I can only describe as a beautiful disaster. You have to understand the elegance of what I built. I didn't delete anything. I didn't sabotage anything overtly. Instead, I created a series of dependencies, digital tripwires woven so carefully through our systems that removing my access would trigger a cascade of failures. Our client database, now linked to a secondary authentication system that required my personal certification. Our shipping algorithm, I'd embedded a verification protocol that pinged my credentials every 72 hours. The Thailand contract itself, I'd structured the digital framework so that my role as project architect was into every automatic report, every data sync, every workflow. I wasn't destroying their company. I was becoming its central nervous system and then preparing to go dark. But that was just the technical side. The real came from remembering something had said during a drunken company holiday party 2 years ago. He pulled me aside, whiskey breath in my face, and whispered, "You want to know the secret to success in this business? Documentation is everything. Paper trails are gold. If something isn't written down, it doesn't exist." So I documented everything. Every meeting, every decision, every late-night email where had asked me to massage the numbers for investors. Every conversation where had discussed billing clients for services we hadn't actually provided. Every instance where had told me to classify full-time contractors as independent consultants to avoid paying benefits. I had 3 years of receipts. And now, sitting in that hotel room, I compiled it all into a beautiful, organized, meticulously cross-referenced dossier. Every shady practice, every corner cut, every lie told to clients and investors. I didn't editorialize. I didn't need to. The facts were damning enough. By the time the sun rose over Bangkok, I had 2 packages ready. One was a detailed letter to our 3 biggest clients, including the Thailand consortium, explaining that I'd been terminated without cause while in the field representing the company, and politely suggesting they might want to verify the credentials and reliability of solutions before entrusting them with their supply chains. The second package was addressed to the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Washington State Department of Labor, and the IRS. It contained my documentation of every financial irregularity I'd witnessed, every instance of potential fraud, every tax dodge that had made me uncomfortable. I didn't send them immediately. That would be too easy. Instead, I set them to deploy automatically in 7 days unless I manually canceled them. A dead man's switch, if you will. And then I sent one more message to, "Hi, just confirming receipt of termination. I'll be returning to Seattle once I've secured transportation. All company property and access credentials will be transferred upon my arrival. Looking forward to our final conversation. Best." Professional, courteous, with just a hint of something that should have made him nervous. It didn't. I know because responded 3 hours later with a terse email. "Ms., your final paycheck will be mailed to your address on file. Do not attempt to contact any clients or employees. Your NDA remains in effect. You are expected to return all company property immediately via international courier or face legal action." They really thought they'd won. I used my personal credit card to book the cheapest flight I could find, a nightmare 27-hour journey with 3 layovers, leaving in 5 days. That gave me time to complete the Thailand implementation, because despite everything, I'm not someone who abandons her work. The clients had done nothing wrong. They deserved the system I'd promised them. For the next 4 days, I worked with the consortium like nothing had happened. I trained their teams, documented every process, and ensured they could maintain the system without Nexbridge's involvement. And here, where it gets interesting. During our final meeting, the lead client representative, Siraporn Chatterjee, pulled me aside. "Ms. Castellanos, forgive my forwardness, but something seems wrong. You seem different. Is everything okay with your company?" I'd been holding it together for days. Something about her genuine concern cracked my armor slightly. "There have been some complications," I said carefully, "but I want to assure you that this project is solid. I've built it to run independently of Nexbridge if necessary." She studied my face for a long moment. "You built this entire system yourself, didn't you? Not your company, you." "I had help," I deflected. "But it's your vision, your architecture." She smiled sadly. "I've been in business for 30 years, Ms. Castellanos. I know when someone is being undervalued. Here is my card. When you are ready to discuss your future, please call me. We are always looking for talented people who understand our market." I took that card with trembling hands and promised to stay in touch. The flight home was purgatory, cramped seats, screaming bobbies, my brain cycling between fury and exhaustion. But I also used those 27 hours to prepare one final surprise. I created a detailed Reddit post, names changed, identifying details obscured, explaining exactly what had happened to me. I posted it to several workplace advice forums and the legal advice subreddit. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Thousands of comments, people sharing their own stories of corporate betrayal, several lawyers messaging me privately, offering to take my case pro bono, a journalist from a major business publication reaching out for an interview. I didn't respond to anyone yet. I was waiting. When I finally landed in Seattle, exhausted and furious and running on fumes, I took an Uber straight to the Nexbridge office. It was 8:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. Perfect timing. The receptionist, Amber, who'd always been kind to me, looked shocked when I walked in. "Veronique, I thought you were, we heard." She lowered her voice. "Are you okay? There were rumors." "I need to see Damien," I said calmly. "Is he in?" "He's in his office, but he has a meeting at 9, and I don't think he's expecting." "Thanks, Amber." I walked past her desk toward the executive suite. My badge no longer worked, of course, but someone was exiting as I approached, and I slipped through behind them. Small offices give you that advantage. Damien's door was closed. I didn't knock. I opened it and walked in. He was on his phone, feet up on his desk, laughing at something. When he saw me, the laughter died. His feet dropped to the floor. "What the hell are you doing here?" he snapped. "You're trespassing security." "Relax, Damien. I'm just returning company property." I pulled out my laptop and set it on his desk, as requested. He eyed me suspiciously. "Your badge, your phone, everything." I laid them out one by one. "All here. Oh, and I need my final paycheck. Philippa said it would be mailed, but I'm here now, so let's save everyone time. HR will process it according to policy." "That's fine, I can wait." I sat down in the chair across from him. "Actually, while I'm here, we should probably discuss the Thailand project. I have some information the clients will need." "You are not to contact our clients," Damien interrupted, his face reddening. "Your NDA." "I'm aware of my NDA. I'm not discussing proprietary information. I'm simply ensuring a smooth transition. Unless you'd prefer I leave critical details undocumented." I tilted my head. "That seems risky given how much revenue this contract represents." I watched him calculate, his jaw clenching. Finally, "Fine, send an email to Philippa with whatever documentation is needed. Then you're done. Gone. If I see you near this office again, I'm calling the police." "Understood." I stood up. "Oh, one more thing. The system I built in Thailand. It requires periodic authentication from the project architect. That's me, for the next 6 months. Just for security purposes. I'm happy to provide that authentication remotely unless you'd prefer to rebuild the entire framework from scratch." His eyes narrowed. "What are you playing at?" "Nothing, just being thorough. You wanted me to be executive material, remember? Well, executives think ahead. I smiled. I'll send you a simple agreement. I provide authentication as needed for the next 6 months, and you provide a positive reference letter acknowledging my work. Fair trade. You're not in a position to negotiate. Actually, I am, because if that system goes down, your biggest client is going to ask questions, and they're already curious about why the project lead was terminated while still in the field. I leaned forward. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to pay me as a consultant, let's say $15,000 a month for 6 months, to maintain the system I built. You're going to provide that reference letter. And you're going to stop pretending I'm some disposable employee you can discard when convenient. Get out, he hissed. You're delusional if you think. I'll give you 48 hours to consider it, I interrupted, standing. After that, my offer expires. And Damien, you might want to make sure your financial documentation is in order. Sometimes when companies are under scrutiny, auditors ask uncomfortable questions. I walked out before he could respond, my heart hammering but my face serene. Amber stared at me as I passed her desk. Good luck, she whispered. Thanks, you too. For the next 2 days, I heard nothing, so I did nothing. I went home, hugged Leo, told him everything, and waited. The dead man's switch on my emails was ticking down. 5 days left. 4 days. 3. On the 3rd day, my phone rang. Unknown number. Veronique, this is Jonas from Nextbridge. We need to talk. I'm listening. Damien is willing to discuss your proposal, but not at $15,000 a month. That's unreasonable. Jonas, I built a multi-million-dollar system for you. I did it alone, in a foreign country, working 80-hour weeks. And you thanked me by abandoning me overseas with no money. $15,000 a month is the deal. Take it or leave it. Silence, then I'll get back to you. 2 hours later, a contract appeared in my email. Everything I'd asked for plus a $20,000 severance payment. The reference letter was glowing, almost suspiciously so. I read it 3 times, had Leo's lawyer friend review it, then canceled the automated emails to the SEC and clients with minutes to spare. But I didn't delete them. I saved them, because the story doesn't end there. Drop a comment if you think I should have sent those emails anyway. I want to know what you would have done. Over the next 6 months, I did exactly what I promised. I maintained the Thailand system, responded to technical issues, and kept everything running smoothly. And I used that time to build my own consulting business. Remember Siraporn's card? I called her. Within 3 months, I had 5 clients. Within 6 months, I had 12. Every single one was someone I'd met through Nextbridge, people who'd seen my work and wanted to hire me directly. I wasn't violating my NDA. I wasn't disclosing proprietary information or soliciting their clients. But I was accepting work when they reached out to me. And they reached out a lot. By month 4, Damien figured out what was happening. He called me, furious, threatening to sue. For what? I asked calmly. I haven't violated our agreement. My NDA prohibits me from sharing proprietary information, which I haven't done. It doesn't prohibit me from accepting work from people who contact me independently. You're poaching our clients. I'm accepting job offers from people who value my expertise. There's a difference. But Damien, if you'd like to discuss this further, I'm happy to have my lawyer present. And while we're at it, we can discuss how you abandoned an employee overseas, which I believe violates several labor laws. I'm sure the Department of Labor would be interested in reviewing the circumstances. The line went dead. 2 weeks later, Nextbridge Solutions announced a restructuring. Damien stepped down as CEO to pursue other opportunities. Philippa was reassigned. Jonas quietly left the company entirely. I learned later, through former colleagues who'd kept in touch, that my system had become so integral to their operations that removing it would have cost millions. They tried to reverse engineer it, but I'd built it so elegantly, with so many interdependencies, that unpicking my work would mean starting from scratch. They were stuck with me, and every month they had to cut me a check and smile about it. But here's the twist. the real ending that makes this story worth telling. After 6 months, I sent Damien one final email. Damien, as our contract concludes, I wanted to let you know that I'm donating my entire consulting fee from Nextbridge, $90,000 to an organization that helps professionals facing workplace exploitation and wrongful termination. I'm also waiving any ongoing maintenance obligations for the Thailand system. It's stable, well-documented, and your team should be able to manage it from here. I don't need your money. I never did. What I needed was to prove that you couldn't break me. That abandoning someone halfway across the world because you saw them as expendable would have consequences. That I was worth more than you ever realized. I've built something better than anything I could have built at Nextbridge. My company is thriving. My clients are happy. And every day I wake up working for myself instead of for someone who thinks loser is an appropriate way to fire a dedicated employee. Thank you for the lesson. It was expensive for you, but priceless for me. Best regards, Veronique Castellanos, CEO, Castellanos International Solutions. He never responded. He didn't need to. Today, 3 years later, my company employs 17 people. We specialize in supply chain optimization for mid-sized international businesses. We pay our employees well, treat them with respect, and never, ever abandon anyone in the field. Nextbridge Solutions was acquired last year for a fraction of what it was worth in its prime. Their decline wasn't entirely my fault. They had plenty of internal problems, but losing their biggest clients to their former employee certainly didn't help. And the Thailand Consortium, they're still my client. In fact, they've expanded our contract 3 times and referred me to 6 other companies in Southeast Asia. Sometimes I think about that text message. Figure out how to get home yourself, loser. I think about sitting in that hotel room, feeling abandoned and betrayed and utterly alone. And I think about how that moment, as painful as it was, gave me the clarity to stop settling for people who didn't value me. The revenge wasn't making them pay me. It wasn't even watching them implode. The revenge was building something so much better than what they had, proving that their worst mistake wasn't firing me. It was underestimating me in the first place. But there's more to this story, parts I haven't told you yet, parts that still make me smile when I think about them. About 8 months after I left Nextbridge, I got a call from Amber, the receptionist who'd always been kind to me. She was crying. Veronique, I'm so sorry to bother you, but I didn't know who else to call. They just fired me. They said I was redundant after 7 years. They gave me 2 weeks severance and told me to clear my desk by end of day. My blood boiled. Amber was one of those people who made every workplace better, organized, kind, always remembering everyone's birthdays and coffee orders. She'd been the glue holding that chaotic office together. Amber, don't apologize. Can you come by my office tomorrow morning, 9 a.m.? Your office, but I don't want to impose. You're not imposing. Just come, trust me. She showed up the next morning, puffy-eyed and clutching her portfolio like a life raft. I sat her down, poured her coffee, and made her an offer. How would you feel about being my director of operations? Same salary you were making, plus actual benefits, plus a real career path. I need someone who understands organization, client relations, and how to keep a growing company from descending into chaos. That's you. She stared at me, tears streaming down her face again, but different tears this time. Are you serious? Completely. Amber, you were too good for that place. They just couldn't see it. She accepted on the spot. And you know what? She's been instrumental in building Castellanos International into what it is today. Last year, I promoted her to Chief Operating Officer. She runs half the company now. But hearing Amber was just the beginning. Over the next year, as Nextbridge continued its downward spiral, more people reached out. The talented graphic designer they'd overworked and underpaid. The brilliant data analyst they'd passed over for promotion 3 times. The project manager who'd watched me get abandoned overseas and knew she could be next. I didn't hire everyone who reached out, I couldn't. But I hired the ones who shared my values, who'd been grinding under Damien's terrible leadership, who had talent but not opportunity. Within 18 months, I'd built a team of 12 former Nextbridge employees. We became what Nextbridge had pretended to be: innovative, client-focused, ethical. And it drove Damien absolutely insane. I know because he sent me an email in year 2. Subject line: "Congratulations on your poaching operation." The email was unhinged, accusing me of corporate espionage, of deliberately destroying his company, of being vindictive and unprofessional. It went on for 3 paragraphs, each more bitter than the last. I showed it to my lawyer. She laughed and said, "This is a lawsuit waiting to happen for him, not you. Do not respond." But I couldn't help myself. I crafted a response, then sat on it for 24 hours before sending. "Damien, I haven't poached anyone. I've simply created the kind of workplace culture where talented people want to work. People seek me out because I treat them with respect, pay them fairly, and don't abandon them in foreign countries when they're inconvenient. If that's destroying your company, perhaps you should reflect on what that says about how you built it in the first place. I wish you well in your future endeavors. V." He never emailed again. But here, where the story gets truly satisfying. About 2.5 years after I left, I was invited to speak at a major logistics industry conference in Singapore. The topic was building resilient international supply chains in emerging markets. It was a huge honor, 300+ attendees, live-streamed globally, career-making visibility. I prepared for weeks. My presentation was sharp, data-driven, packed with real case studies from my Thailand work and subsequent projects. I was nervous but ready. The morning of my talk, I was backstage doing a final review when one of the conference organizers approached me, looking uncomfortable. "Ms. Castellanos, I need to inform you that Damien Rothschild is in the audience. He registered yesterday. We wanted you to know in case." "That's fine," I interrupted, my heart rate spiking but my voice steady. "Thank you for letting me know." Damien was there, watching, probably hoping I'd fail or at minimum prepared to criticize whatever I presented. I walked onto that stage, looked out at the sea of faces, spotted him in the 4th row, arms crossed, expression smug, and something clicked into place. I wasn't that scared woman in a Bangkok hotel room anymore. I'd rebuilt myself from that moment, turned devastation into fuel and created something genuine. "Good morning," I began. "I want to start with a story about failure, specifically about the time I was fired while working overseas for my employer, stranded with a canceled company card and no way home." I watched Damien's face drain of color. The audience leaned forward. That moment taught me something crucial about resilience in international operations. When you're building systems across borders, you need redundancy, backup plans, the ability to function when your primary support structure collapses. Because in business, as in life, you can't control what others do to you. You can only control how you respond. I spent the next 45 minutes delivering the best presentation of my life. I talked about building fail-safes into supply chains, about creating systems that survive personnel changes, about treating international partners with respect and cultural sensitivity. I never mentioned Nextbridge by name, never directly called out Damien, but everyone who knew our history could read between the lines. The audience gave me a standing ovation. Damien didn't stand. He sat there, red-faced and furious, then walked out before the Q&A session even started. Afterward, I was mobbed by people wanting to exchange business cards, discuss potential projects, take selfies. 3 different venture capital firms asked if I was seeking investment for expansion. A publisher approached me about writing a book on ethical international business practices. And in the middle of all that chaos, Sarapan found me. She'd flown in from Bangkok specifically for my talk. "Ranakwa, that was magnificent. I'm so proud of what you've built." She handed me an envelope. "This is a proposal from the consortium. We want to expand our relationship, not just logistics consulting, but a full partnership. We're opening 3 new manufacturing facilities across Southeast Asia, and we want Castellanos International to be our exclusive supply chain partner. The contract details are inside, but I can tell you it's worth $4.3 million over 3 years." I actually gasped. Leo, who'd flown in to support me, squeezed my hand so hard I thought he'd break my fingers. Sarapun, I don't know what to say. This is incredible. You earned it. You've proven yourself 100 times over. Sign when you're ready, no rush. We trust you completely. That contract became the foundation for everything that followed. Within 6 months, I'd hired 10 more employees. Within a year, we'd opened a satellite office in Singapore. My company had surpassed what I'd helped build at Nuxbraja, and we were just getting started. But you know what the sweetest moment was? It wasn't the money or the success or the standing ovation. It was running into one of Nuxbraja's former clients, a woman named Tatyana who ran a packaging company, at an airport lounge 8 months later. Varanukwa, I thought that was you. How are you? I heard about your company. It sounds amazing. Thanks, Tatyana. Things are good. How's business? Her face fell. Honestly, not great. We're actually looking for a new logistics consultant. We've been with Nuxbraja for 4 years, but the last 6 months have been a nightmare. Systems crashing, nobody returning calls, half the original team is gone. It's like the company's running on autopilot and nobody in the cockpit. I handed her my card. Give me a call when you're ready. I'd love to help. She called the next day, signed with us the following week, and she brought 2 other former Nuxbraja clients with her. I wasn't stealing clients. They were fleeing a sinking ship and swimming toward something better. By year 3, Kasalanas International had captured 40% of Nuxbraja's former client base, not through aggressive tactics, but simply by being good at what we do and treating people with basic human decency. Leo jokes that I should send Daman a thank you card every year on the anniversary of that text message. After all, he says, he gave you the greatest gift possible. He showed you exactly who not to be. He's right. That experience burned away any illusions I had about corporate loyalty or waiting for recognition. It taught me that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is actually a violent shove toward your best life. Last month, I got a LinkedIn message from Jonas, the former HR director at Nuxbraja. He'd been unemployed for 18 months, burning through savings, unable to find work in the industry because word had gotten around about Nuxbraja's implosion. Varanukwa, I know I don't deserve a response, but I wanted to apologize. What we did to you was unconscionable. I should have pushed back harder. I should have protected you. I've thought about it every day since. I'm not asking for anything, just wanted you to know that some of us have regrets. I stared at that message for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it, let him sit with his regrets. But a bigger part of me, the part that had learned forgiveness isn't about them, it's about you, decided to respond. Jonas, I appreciate the apology. That took courage. I'm not in a position to hire right now, but I'll keep your resume on file. I believe in second chances for people who've genuinely learned from their mistakes. Take care. I didn't hire him, but I forwarded his information to a colleague who was looking for someone with HR experience. He got the job. Sometimes revenge is showing people that you're bigger than their worst moment. As I write this, Kasalanas International just celebrated its 3rd anniversary. We threw a party for all 72 employees. Yes, we've grown that much, and I gave a toast that made half the room cry. 3 years ago, someone tried to break me. They failed. Not because I'm stronger than breaking, but because I had something they couldn't take, belief in my own worth. Every person in this room is here because they bring value, talent, and humanity to what we do. You'll never be stranded overseas on my watch. You'll never be called a loser for doing your job. You'll never be disposable, because I remember what that feels like, and I refuse to inflict it on anyone else. Amber stood up first, then everyone else followed. The applause shook the rafters. Now it's your turn. Drop in the comments. What are the 3 major lessons you learned from this story? And don't forget to tell me where you're watching from and what time it is there. I love seeing how far these stories reach. As for me, I'm typing this from my office in Bangkok. I moved here permanently last year. Turns out, being stranded somewhere can help you realize it's exactly where you belong. If this story resonated with you, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with anyone who's ever felt undervalued at work. Tomorrow, I'll be sharing another revenge story about a team-building retreat that went horribly right. You won't want to miss it. Remember, you're never as powerless as someone else wants you to believe. Sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to stay small.